And I've let the rest of the round in, so whenever you are ready, I will probably continue to let people in.
Okay. Just going to open one more document here.
And let us know when you want us to stop displaying this.
Okay.
Candace is our helper today.
Okay. Thank you, Candace.
My pleasure.
Okay. Okay. Candace, if you wouldn't mind, go ahead and take down the slide. Hi, all. So nice to see your faces and your boxes. I hope you all had a great summer. I hope you had a smooth first week of classes. Uh, thank you. Thank you all for being here. And I just want to, before we officially start with the agenda, I want to welcome back those of you who are returning senators. I really appreciate your service and your leadership in this role. I know it can sometimes feel thankless, but I see you, I value you. Thank you for being here. And I'm also really happy to welcome our new senators who begin this semester. And later on in the meeting, we'll have a opportunity to get to know each other a little bit better in our small breakout groups. So let me begin with the approval of the, come to order at 3:05 p.m. Well, first item for approval is our agenda. Colleagues, any changes to the agenda? Hearing none, agenda is approved. Colleagues, looking all the way back to April 23rd, 2024, when we last met. Any changes, corrections, or additions to those meeting minutes? Hearing none, the meeting minutes are approved. Thank you so much. And I want to thank President Stokes once again for being here with us at Faculty Senate. And without further ado, President Stokes, I'll hand it over to you.
Well, I kind of feel like I'm teaching the first day of class, and somehow I left all of my notes on my desk, which is a mile away from the classroom where I'm teaching. So, for those of you who've, been on Senate for a while, you kind of know a little bit about my sense of humor. And for those of you who might be new, you might not, but truly, I just lost some notes that I had for this meeting.
We've all been there, done that. So I'll try to fill in where I can.
No, I'm good. Most of the notes I've got a lot of paper in front of me, some of which is also for this meeting today. But the notes I have are really just some moments of celebration. Kind of the best part of my job is the ability to celebrate, awards our faculty have received, awards our students have received. So many things have happened over the summer since I was last with the Senate. Of course, we had a great commencement with a wonderful speaker, Deb Haaland. We really but the summer went by faster than I could have possibly thought it would, and I'm sure many of you have felt much the same. There are a number of I'm very amazed. We had Olympics. I know a lot of people watch the Olympics. We had people from New Mexico and former UNM folks that were also part of that. So those were moments of celebration for UNM as well. And we had a great beginning of the semester. A wonderful first year convocation where we are now also honoring those students who transfer to UNM, which I think has been very important. A lot of times transfer students get kind of dropped as we think about new students and what it's like to be new to UNM's campus. But I think it was a great addition for that. I appreciate the faculty that participated and in that, and got to see the families and everyone who came to send their students off. A wonderful first week with lots of activities. I sponsor the an ice cream giveaway, and we have non-dairy options as well. So it really is a change to be back on campus and to know, that we've of course got a lot of students very excited, a lot of students already probably, feeling the pangs of what it means to be new someplace and getting to know a lot of new people and experience things that are really out of the norm. So anyway, for me, it's just a really exciting time to be here. I know there's not a whole lot of time, and there's a lot going on this afternoon in my office. So I know that one of the things when I met with Chris one-on-one last week is she gave me some questions that she had solicited from members of the Senate. And so what I'd like to do is just address those questions. And then there were some questions that were really, I think, more directed in terms of who has the answers to them, directed to the provost who is out. And I had hoped that Barbara Rodriguez, who is serving in that role during this couple of weeks while James is gone, would be able to be here, but there was a schedule mix-up. So I actually have some of those questions with responses, although I certainly won't necessarily be able to be as clear about the answers as Barbara or James would have been. But I'm just going to jump in with the questions that Chris put to me. And I don't know how many people were interested in those things, but first thing I was asked about was, what are we doing about the healthcare provider crisis? And, this is a topic that I've discussed with several different members of the faculty. One context in which we had this discussion in the past was that truly our recruitment and retention of anyone at UNM is in part affected by our access to healthcare. And so this is a topic that affects everyone. It affects all of us at the university. The extent to which we have that kind of access to healthcare that we need. There are lots of stories about what is happening to, we have aging physicians that are choosing to retire. There are anecdotes about physicians leaving the state. I know some of you may have some personal stories. We know that some of those issues have resolved around, as I think, Senate President Elder has shared with the Board of Regents in meetings that with some individual stories or notes that she's received from individual faculty, some concerns about climate, et cetera. But, physician, pay for healthcare workers and physician pay in particular has been a priority, and we still continue to try to make progress. But what I wanted to share with you is that during the last few months, I've been working with the Board of Regents on my goals, and a major project has been undertaken related to healthcare workforce. Now, many of you may know that we've been pushing for growth in College of Pharmacy, in our School of Nursing. We've been working to expand population health to be a school of public health. These are all schools that provide essential healthcare workers in New Mexico. We have the brand new School of Nursing building that will probably have a ribbon cutting on that before way too long, because it's definitely in progress. School of Pharmacy is undergoing renovations, a lot of moving parts there. But the real big challenge actually is the physician healthcare workforce. And and mainly because it's a big issue. So I charged Mike Richards to work with me on this high priority for the institution. We have worked with some consultants. We are working on a business plan. We are talking to leaders around the state about what it is that UNM can do, what investments need to be made in order to meet the healthcare needs or close that gap in the healthcare needs in New Mexico. And this is a massive project, I will tell you. One of the things that's been discussed, we discussed it in front of the Capitol hearings for the Higher Education Department, was that we finally need to tackle the issue of Fitz Hall. Fitz Hall has people have been working in that building. As many people like to say about facilities, it doesn't have really good bones. I've toured the facility. I know that that people have really, faculty have done some amazing work in less than ideal facilities for their research. So it's incredible what actually has been done by our faculty in spite of, some really challenging work and research and teaching environments in some cases. So this is an ongoing priority. It is a top priority for the University of New Mexico. But I want to be clear that what we're engaged in right now is not just about the University of New Mexico. This is about the needs of New Mexico and the ways in which UNM can potentially fill the gap. So you may not know, but next week, September 4th, I believe it's scheduled at 2:00. There should be an announcement. What is today? It's today, Tuesday. Yeah. There was an announcement in my President's Weekly Perspective about a town hall that we're having for those who are interested in really engaging in this issue of the healthcare workforce and the things that the university needs to pursue. So, what are we doing about this crisis? We are trying to put all hands on deck to figure out how we're going to make these investments. We'll have to it's going to involve a lot of people on a lot of fronts. It's not going to be just about state money. It's going to have to include other sources of revenue. So I think we have very good plans that are continuing within our pharmacy and nursing and population health. It's our School of Medicine where we've got, the really heavy lift. And I want you to know that we are very much focused on this. And so I'm hoping that gives some answer to the question of what are we trying to do about the provider crisis. Now, a second question that I was asked, I'm going to skip over the ones that are for the provost and save those for my last answers. The next one that was really for me was the question of, what's going on with disclosure and divestment. And so in case you did not see it, I wanted to let you know that in my weekly perspective, which was last week, August 19th, and you can find it on the president's website. It's like the front page of president.unm.edu. You'll see the weekly perspective where embedded in that was a whole section on disclosure. And linked within that section is everything that we actually disclosed a week ago, last Monday. We're still working with some fund managers related to permissions, et cetera. But you will find everything that we have to this point. And it is a massive undertaking, it turns out, to disclose. I will be honest, I think that my desire for disclosure is really tied to my desire for the transparency that I think the university should be offering. I think when we're asked, we need to be able to share everything that we can. So these things will continue to be updated as we have more conversations with fund managers that allow us to provide more information. So you'll find massive documents. There's a summary, there's some things that you can review. I'm I'm amazed by kind of the complexity of it all, but you know, it's there for people to see. You know, the question of disclosure, you know, that is a ongoing discussion about what that actually means. And so, you know, I don't have anything more to say about it right now. One of the questions that we're asking is, you know, where does the responsibility lie related to that question? And you know, I will say that our goal is to both educate ourselves and educate everyone else about what disclosure actually means and what its impact is. And, you know, I realize that many people believe that our Board of Regents are the ones that would actually make a decision about disclosure or not. We're still looking at what it means, but because back in the time when the board voted on South Africa, you know, a lot of things are different today. Funds themselves and the ways in which investments are made have completely changed. But one of the major changes is that the foundation didn't exist separately as a 501c3, as an affiliated entity of the university. And so that foundation exists. Its purpose, its only real purpose, is to raise money in support of the mission of the University of New Mexico. And the Board of Regents has authority to set the investment policy in general, but we're still exploring where responsibility sits here. And so just as an update, I just wanted people to know that these are things that, you know, are being discussed at this time. Another question I was asked was, what does free speech look like for students and faculty? And I will share with you, many of you don't end up going to Board of Regents meetings, but we did have a meeting last week, Board of Regents meeting. We had it in Valencia. Thank you, Melissa. I will definitely be getting to that message that just went out. So, the free speech, okay, so where was I? It's been a crazy day, sorry. We had a Board of Regents meeting
Sorry.
last week in
President,
Valencia. Yes.
Let me interrupt you for a sec. All, if you have a question while President Stokes is talking, can you just send it to me directly and then I can pose the question to her at the end so she doesn't get distracted, if you don't mind.
You know, that's a very big message. So I'm used to kind of glancing at the
Okay.
chat. So
Okay.
but I thank you for that.
Okay. So it's okay then to just.
It is
chat?
fine.
Okay,
I try to glance at that, and nor I can close the chat, but I just, you know, when I say let's go ahead and send out a message, I never really know how quickly it gets out. Okay. So
Yeah.
so
Sorry, go ahead.
Okay. So we had a Board of Regents meeting last week. Many people think we purposely had it in Valencia. I will tell you, it was set up in Valencia because we used to have board meetings at the branch campuses, and our regent chair realized back in the summer that we had failed to have a meeting at a branch campus last year. And Valencia was supposed to be the next branch campus we were supposed to visit. So we had several people who'd never been to that campus, and that's where the board meeting took place. How that's related? Well, I did a presentation, and part of it was about this very issue of what does free speech look like for our students and our faculty. And, you know, you might not be able to see this, and I don't know which way you got going, but we have this little document that we've put together that says, speak up, speak out, know your rights, respect others. And it is a reflection of what it is we're trying to convey to our faculty, staff, and students. It's intended to help people understand what their free speech rights are, what the First Amendment protections are, what academic freedom is, which is faculty do determine their subjects of research, their topics and courses were relevant to their course subject and are aligned with professional expertise. The issue of what we want are viewpoints. We expect all viewpoints, regardless of whether we agree. We know we disagree with them, but they are in fact protected. So we want people to understand what free speech rights really are. We try to describe what's not permissible so that people understand kind of where the lines are, although we know they can be blurry at times. Content of speech that includes threats or harassment or incites violence is not considered protected. We do know that hate speech is often protected by the First Amendment, but it is not supposed to cross the line into harassment or threats. Disruptive behavior, that speech or actions that disrupt the activities of the university and its operations are not permissible. Civil disobedience, often people call it free speech, but in fact, violation of policies or laws is not protected by free speech under the US Constitution. And that is described here. And it can result in disciplinary or legal consequences. And our goal as a university is to apply a viewpoint neutral, content neutral approach to these things. We have advice on how to conduct oneself and our real goal is the promotion of empathy and respect. The promotion of that. And so there's several things here. I hope that you see this on campus with the guidance. We hope to have further conversations with faculty, with staff and students about these things. So it's an ongoing effort for us. Thank you, Chris, for sending that out. And so I talked about this at the board meeting and said, we'll certainly continue conversation about this. And I hope, we very much understand how important academic freedom is. We want to support our faculty and staff and students. So the next question that I was asked was, what are the priorities for strategic funding and the bettering of lives and the economies of New Mexico? And we are, in that beginning process of budget priorities for the coming year. I presented, our research and public service projects, some new projects. I did learn yesterday, talking to the Secretary of Higher Education, that although we've had little success with new RPSPs in the past, we may have a little more success this year. They're all built up around our 2040 plan. So we have a focus on advancing New Mexico with a new RPSP about accelerating resilience innovations in dry lands. The ARID Institute that the provost has talked to you about before, that's a nearly $3 million request. Another request related to the partnership Quantum New Mexico with Sandia Labs, that's a $3 million request. A focus on substance use disorders and the integration and coordination of our efforts to serve the research, education, and clinical mission related to substance use disorders. Those are all considered part of advancing New Mexico. We have asked for, via the RPSP, mechanism for graduate assistance compensation increase of 3%. That would be able to go beyond whatever we get from the state related to compensation increases. We continue to push for the transition of our College of Population Health to public health, I think, as I mentioned earlier. And there is a request via RPSP for that. And then we have a couple of branch campuses that are requesting new RPSPs as well, associated with community health workers and early childhood education. We have a lot of expansion requests, and those will end up being posted. We have some categorical requests as well for tribal educational initiatives, a teacher pipeline program, that ROSE program, the Research Opportunities for Science Educators, and then an athletics request. And I'll say that, top priority for all of the institutions of higher education is going to continue to be compensation. It will also be increases to general funding for our universities. You may be aware that there is in fact a group that is working on whether or not higher education in New Mexico is sufficiently funded. We got an update on that report yesterday at the Council of Presidents meeting. The hope is that before the legislative session is completed, we will have that study completed so that we know where we stand with regard to funding for higher education. The real goal here is additional funding for higher ed. That's the expectation, that this will serve to inform members of our legislature and our executive branch that, in fact, that higher ed is not sufficiently funded. But the outcomes remain to be seen. So more to come about that as things unfold during this fall semester with that study. I'm sure there's more to say about strategic funding. The other questions are really ones that Barbara Rodriguez helped to answer. I was asked about eligibility requirements for lottery. Sorry, I still have a cough after being sick more than 4 weeks ago. Yeah, I hope none of you are dealing with that too. For lottery, I think the question was really is how is the standard course load for students 5.5 being addressed? Lottery says that students must complete 12 credit hours with a semester GPA of 2.5 or better in their first term of college, which is the qualifying semester. They must complete 30 credit hours per academic year, but that includes summer. That includes summer now too, which it didn't used to. And so there's an option to do 12 in the fall, 15 in the spring, 3 in the summer. There are ways, I think, to mix that up. A student will remain eligible by completing 12 new credit hours each semester, and it can be awarded for up to 7 consecutive semesters. There were some questions about how UNM plans to apply those non-formula funds that were allocated by the state legislature for this fiscal year. Those non-formula funds for faculty compensation were $1.2 million. They were partially allocated for the increases to the minimum salaries for Unit 1 and Unit 2 faculty. The remaining $927,000 will be allocated to schools and colleges to address equity. And academic affairs will receive school and college plans for that. They will review and approve those plans. And by October 1st, the administration expects to publish the amounts of funding provided for each of that funding for each college and school, the unit, the department, et cetera. So there will be a progress report that will appear. There were funds allocated for graduate assistants. And then the Provost's office and Health Sciences continues to look at the gap in funding for faculty compared to comparable institutions. So that's ongoing work. They're doing a reassessment of that. So I think that answers the questions. Chris, does that cover the questions that you recall that we talked about?
I believe so. Yeah, there were 7, and I know that some of those, 2 or 3 of those are probably better answered by Barbara or the provost.
Yeah, well, I'm sure that's why I said those will probably be better answered, but I tried to give you kind of the snapshot of what she gave me a few minutes before this meeting started.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that. Yes.
Yeah. So 2 things. Of course, many of you are aware that I've named an interim director for athletics. Eddie Nunez took a position at University of Houston. Congratulations to him. Great athletic director and wonderful. I think that Dave Williams is in the interim role, and I am talking to search firms, and we will initiate a search, for the next athletic director in the coming weeks. The reference to what just came out on the 315 email today. So there is a message that's just gone out all campus wide. And it is a very important update for university leadership. I guess I could read this to you, but it's a big announcement. You know, I referenced earlier my belief that we're at a pivotal point related to our production of educated, healthy, and economically vigorous New Mexico. We have a lot going on in health sciences. There are a lot of health sciences initiatives, and so as a result of many things, I have been thinking and gathering information and feedback and thinking hard about the future of health sciences at UNM. And this afternoon, I'm announcing a strategic leadership change, and I have named effective today Dr. Mike Richards to serve as the interim executive vice president for health sciences and CEO of the health system. He replaces Dr. Doug Ziodonis, whose appointment officially would conclude on December 10th. I do greatly appreciate Dr. Ziodonis's work over the last 3.5 years. These are challenging decisions to make. I have very positive things to say about Dr. Ziodonis and the things that he has done. But I will say, transitioning leadership is a very challenging time. I spent the morning talking to people in some groups in health sciences. I know some of you, certainly the faculty in health sciences and the members of Faculty Senate who are from health sciences, participated in a survey that was conducted several weeks ago. I think that, a strategic leadership change at this point can help accelerate our efforts to build the workforce of the future and build and grow our health sciences mission for the state of New Mexico. I think that's a transformative path for the university and for healthcare in New Mexico. And I just want to say that, these are big announcements, and I recognize that. I was still making phone calls, and I wanted to postpone getting that message out, but I thought I can't go into a Faculty Senate meeting and not mention this to you. So I went ahead and said, send out the message, because I know that, this is a time of transition for the institution, and a time of transition for my leadership team, and a time of transition in the leadership of health sciences. Many of you may have worked with Dr. Richards before. He is a leader that I deeply trust. I put him in charge of the healthcare workforce study not that long ago, a few months ago, and very well versed with the many parts of the mission of health sciences. So I think with that, I've probably used up more of my time than I was given. Yes, quite a bit more. But I'll leave it at that and be happy to answer any additional questions.
First, I will say I should have given you more time officially on the agenda when I came to you with 7 questions. So you are not one who monopolizes our time at these meetings. So
I'll try not to.
yeah, so thank you so much. Colleagues, any questions for President Stokes? Any additional questions for President Stokes?
All right. Well,
Well,
thank you all.
Thank you for being here. I imagine with that email going out, you're going to have a lot of phone calls and emails and knocks on your door when you finish up this meeting.
It's been quite a day. So really appreciate all of you. Thank you so much. And I'll look forward to seeing you again on campus somewhere or back in a Zoom box in another month. Okay. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye. Well, senators and new senators, see, you come to Faculty Senate meetings and it's breaking news from President Stokes herself. So thank you for being here. You can let your colleagues know that you heard it straight from her. Okay, so let me see what's next on the agenda here. Got too many boxes open.
Would you like us to
Oh.
display the agenda, Chris?
Um, actually, well, I like to see everybody's faces, but here, let me put a link to it in the chat if people want to refer to it. Okay, so hopefully that will take you to the agenda correctly. My report. I do have a few things to share with you all. First of all, I want to thank Nancy Middlebrook and her team. Today, Candace is with us. Some of you may know Rick Holmes accepted a position on North Campus with the Health Sciences Center, and he's working directly with Dr. Sood, correct, Nancy?
Yes, for HSC Academic Affairs.
Academic Affairs. Thank you. And so Nancy and her team were already doing the job of many people, and now they're also covering Rick's job until an announcement for the new hire is made. So thank you, Nancy and Candace, for making sure we're all where we're supposed to be, and I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. I also want to, I may have mentioned this, I believe, in the spring, but I wanted to give Roberta Lavin a shout out. Hi, Roberta. Roberta she is currently the Faculty Senate President-elect, so she will be taking on this position as Faculty Senate President in the coming academic year. I told Roberta we need to get her another hat rack because she serves faculty in so many different ways, both HSC and main Albuquerque campus, and frankly, the branch campuses as well. So thank you, Roberta. I also just want to mention quickly that you may have seen the announcement so that basically, I have kept these Faculty Senate meetings online in the hopes of providing more access to our branch campus colleagues, to our HSC colleagues, and to any of you that would otherwise find it harder to attend. But I do like to have at least one meeting per semester where we're invited to and able to come together. So this semester's in-person, well, I'll say hybrid, in-person, face-to-face, and online meeting will be our September meeting. If you can make it face-to-face to Albuquerque, I hope you will attend. We had a really nice gathering, I would say, in the spring semester. We were in the sub, Lobo A and B, round tables so people could talk to each other. We had really yummy food and drink that Nancy and her team secured for us. So I hope you'll join us face to face for that September meeting. Per usual, we will also be providing a link to people who aren't able to attend in person. And if you're coming from a branch campus, we will once again provide, how should I put it, benefits of coming to attend to in Albuquerque. What I mean is, help with accommodations or those kinds of things that would otherwise cost you extra to attend. And of course, we'll be sending out more detailed information for you in an email about that meeting. I do have a couple of messages from Dr. Stephanie McIver from SHAC. I want to mention that pharmacy services are available for faculty at Shack if you weren't already aware. I did ask her, I did mention or wonder aloud if faculty would have concerns about picking up prescriptions at what is basically their place of employment. But Dr. McIver assured me that, of course, the same HIPAA guidelines are in place at Shack. She also mentioned that members of employees of Shack itself also fill their pharmacy needs at Shack. So she wanted to let everyone know that that is a benefit available to us. I will put the link in the chat for more information on the pharmacy services at Shack. Also, just before this meeting started, Dr. McIver sent me a second message that said recently she was informed that her clinic, sorry, I'm reading from her email, her clinic has seen a spike in walk-ins from students. I'm realizing I should mention before I continue with this, those of you who are new senators or returning senators, of course, what President Stokes has shared and what I'm sharing with you now, please take this information back to your colleagues in your departments. And I'm just as a reminder. So Dr. McIver says she's been informed that Shack has seen a spike in walk-ins from students, informed by their professors to come to get an excuse note. And she says, we do not provide such notes under these circumstances and do not have the capacity to see students for this sole reason, to get a note. Unless a student has an appointment to see a Shack, to be seen at Shack for treatment or illness or injury, they cannot provide a note. Walking in to tell them they've been sick and now need a note will not result in the desired outcome. A more accurate message to students, if they must be absent from class because they're ill or injured or hospitalized, they may ask their treating provider for documentation. Encourage students to contact Shack for an appointment for treatment if they cannot get to class or fulfill their requirements due to illness or injury. A condition that does not rise to the level of healthcare intervention will not receive documentation from a provider. I'll also just mention that in my own understanding of best practices for student success, that we actually shouldn't be asking students for notes because it does privilege those students who have easier access to healthcare providers or to obtaining those notes. So that's also something to consider. I remember one time a student told me that another professor wanted proof from the funeral home that their loved one had actually died. And of course, I think that's just unfortunately an exaggeration of this kind of thing. So just something to discuss with our colleagues, something to keep in mind. On the sunnier side of things, the Sarah Bell Brown Awards they're accepting nominations for the award. The nominations are due September 20th. I'm going to put a link in the chat that will provide more information about these awards. I'll tell you, the award recognizes one faculty member, one staff member, and one student who serve as examples of social responsiveness and who have, over an extended period of time, donated considerable personal time and effort, advancing UNM's public service mission. Nominations are expected to be for service beyond the general scope of one's professional or academic assignment at UNM. Faculty members must be tenured, tenure track, clinical educators, or lecturers. Again, those nominations are due on the 20th. Recipients receive a monetary award of $1,500. And recipients are notified and invited to a recognition ceremony in November. I will tell you that I was told they have the least amount of nominations every year for faculty. So please share this information with your colleagues and nominate your colleagues. I know, so the next item was regarding RSPS funding. I just wanted to mention that I believe President Stokes mentioned in her response to you all about priority of funding that one of the items that was ranked high on her RPSP list is she's asking for reoccurring funds for graduate students for an increase in pay. And in my advisor comments, I celebrated that decision to prioritize graduate student pay. And then I asked for the same for faculty. So I asked her and the administration to consider in those RPSP funds to add faculty to their list of priorities. Reoccurring funds for COLA, for cost of living adjustments, and faculty raises. And I also made a point of telling the Board of Regents, you know, in my 11 and a half, almost 12 years here, I've never had a COLA. And then when we, you know, do or had received raises in the past before, you know, those of us who benefit from our faculty union, you know, we often would receive raises, but at the same time, you know, our benefits, cost of benefits to us would go up. And so it was basically a net loss rather than a gain. So trying to remind the Board of Regents of that stated goal to breach the pay gap that we experience in comparison to our peer institutions. Finally, I'm guessing this might not make me popular among my faculty colleagues and graduate students, but I have asked the Board of Regents, I've asked Dr. Barbara Rodriguez, Senior Vice Provost, to require FERPA training on Learning Central for faculty and graduate students. And the reason why I've asked for this is because a graduate student in my own department has been accused of violating FERPA. And she was reported before it having been discussed with her. And honestly, basically what happened is she reached out to me for support with an undergraduate who is causing issues in her class. When the chair included in an email to the graduate student a name of the undergraduate, my graduate student forwarded the email to me so I could see the name of the undergraduate student, and this was considered, or the chair believed it was a FERPA violation. I went straight to the registrar, Michael Rendon, and had a conversation with him. You know, and he asked me things like, was the student's grade included? Was the student's UNM ID included? Was the student's social security number included? And my response to that, to all of those questions, was no. The only thing that was included was his name. And so without having seen the email thread himself, he doubted it was a FERPA violation. But in the meantime, the graduate student is worried about losing her TA-ship, is having trouble focusing, So I think not only faculty and graduate students, but also those that we report to need better FERPA understanding. And so I've suggested that that be included as part of our Learning Central so that we can protect ourselves and protect the graduate students, TAs, research assistants that we work with, and staff. And I know from talking to Michael Rendon, he is the FERPA expert, which is great because that's part of his job as registrar. There is a FERPA training in Learning Central currently, that is authored by his professional organization. He says it's a good one, but he says we most likely need one that is also need one that is more specific to faculty. And when I looked at the quiz questions, the 8 quiz questions, I agreed, that we could use one that was more specific to us. So, that's something to be on the lookout for, that we might be receiving more information about. And maybe our HSC colleagues, I know obviously you participate in HIPAA training, but it's also my understanding that even people on North Campus who don't work directly with students take a version of FERPA training based on the data that you work with. Okay, let's see. I think that's it for my president report. Nancy, am I forgetting anything? Because you're so
The
good.
honorary degree nominations will open soon. Yeah.
Nancy, go ahead, because
Oh,
you
yes,
the
absolutely.
information at your
Just
fingertip.
you'll see an announcement soon, and I don't, but the nominations close, I believe, October 17th, I believe is the date that they will close. But we'll be sending out a notice soon. We sort of leave them open all year around and just collect them, but be considered for the spring awarding. We usually close it off around mid-October sometime. And so if you think of anybody that has served UNM well, that's another way to honor them. And I'm sorry, I don't have the policy link pulled up or anything like that, but we can send you more information. And we'll definitely, when we send the call out, we'll send the call out to faculty senators as well. We'll post it on the listserv for you. So just if you have anyone in mind, and kind of like the Sarah Bell Brown Awards, sometimes we get a lot of nominations and sometimes we don't, but these are very distinct awards, and so sometimes we get a lot of nominees, but we don't choose any. The committee chooses not to forward any names. So, and they are approved at the regent level.
Thank you, Nancy. I did actually want to just share one more item with you about one of our faculty colleagues, Kim Gotterman. I've included a link in the chat. So this is her community engaged research lecture for this year. We are being honored with her awarding of this opportunity. September 12th, at that link, you'll find the information. September 12th, starting at 4:30 p.m. Kim is the recipient of the 24th Annual Community Engaged Research Lecture. And she's an associate professor in Latin American history. She's been practicing as an expert witness in Latin American asylum cases since 2010, focusing on gender, sexuality, and racial-based violence. So I hope to see you all there at George Pearl Hall on the 12th. It's sure to be a very interesting, informative, and difficult presentation and conversation, and one very much worth having. So hope to see you all there. Okay. Next item on our agenda is the consent agenda. This is an action item. Approval, well, I guess we'll do these all together.
We have
Is that
two separate
right? Or
goals.
you want to do them separately? Okay.
Yeah.
So first, I'm asking everyone to vote their approval of the summer 2024 degree candidates. One of the best parts of our job is voting these degree candidates into graduation, officially into graduation. Nancy, if you want to put up that poll.
All right, and it looks like, oh, people are voting. We have
Overwhelming
4 approve
majority.
and 1 abstain, so.
Okay, okay, great. Thank you. Oops. And then next on our consent agenda is approval of faculty senate committee appointments. I've made most of the committee appointments thus far. We still have a couple more committees, and sometimes there's a moving around of appointments if someone isn't able to fulfill their appointment due to being on sabbatical or something like that. But we'll vote on the ones that we have now, and we'll likely vote again on additional appointments or revisions of appointments made. If you want to open up that second poll, Nancy.
All right, and it looks like we have 43 approve and 3 abstaining.
Great. Thank you all so much. And thank you to those of you who, in addition to serving on Faculty Senate, are also either chairing those committees or serving on those committees yourselves. That's, I feel like that's where the really important work happens. So our next agenda item is welcoming Joellen Ransom from Ombud Services. Nancy and I have asked Joellen to come and briefly update you all on the changes that have been made to Ombud Services at UNM. Thank you so much for being here, Joellen.
Thank you, Chris, and thank you, Nancy. I'm so happy to be here. Thank all of you for having me here this afternoon. I'll now try to be brief, and I look forward to your questions after I talk. I think Nancy also has a little introductory video with more information about Ombud Services and a rack card, so that information will be shared with you. And in the meantime, for this afternoon, I just wanted to make sure that you know that Ombud Services a year ago became a consolidated office serving staff, faculty, and graduate students. UNM for many years, from 2010 till 2023, had 3 separate ombuds offices. One for faculty and one for staff. We were in the same building, but were considered separate. And then another separate office for graduate student ombuds. And that left the graduate student ombuds kind of out on their own with minimal opportunity for mentorship and support. Anyway, for a number of reasons, we've consolidated. We've been a consolidated office for about a year. And so if you're looking for a confidential, off the record, very informal but skilled professional sounding board, if you're looking for some free of charge, absolutely available to you, support with collaborative problem solving, with navigating the UNM system, looking for resources to help you accomplish what's important to you. Please don't hesitate to contact us. It's Ombud Services. You can reach us at ombuds@unm.edu. And our website is ombuds.unm.edu. We're confidential. We're not mandatory reporters. We do not keep any records of the conversations that we have as ombuds visits. About 95% of our work with the UNM community happens in these one-on-one visits or one-on-one conversations. We can also provide mediation or facilitated conversations if everybody agrees and wants to do that. And we provide some professional development workshops. Essentially, our mission is to support your efforts to build communication and to build collaboration. So that's what Ombud Services is about, and we are here for you. I wonder if there are any questions.
You'll see that Nancy mentioned that information has been posted in the meeting agenda materials, and I also Joelle and I forwarded your email to the Faculty Senate listserv, which includes the Ombuds video and the RAC card.
Thanks so much. Well, we just are thrilled to be working with you. My colleagues are Ann Lightsey and Heidi Ritchie. Those are the other ombuds in our office. And we also work with Ozma Batul, who is a graduate student, and she supports us as a project assistant. We have a 0.5 FTE administrative assistant, Marie Parks. She's fantastic. And we are all bound by the confidentiality of an organizational ombuds. And so it's a very low risk, very high reward to have a supportive and confidential sounding board. And I welcome you to reach out and take advantage of this resource. Thank you.
Joellen, there's one question for you in the chat from Natalie. What's the process for making an appointment?
You can call us. The best way to reach us, I think, is to email us, ombuds@unm.edu. Send us an email and we can see you usually within 3 days of receiving that email. But we will schedule you at a time that is convenient to you.
Joellen, Liz Hutchison has her hand up.
Hey, Liz.
Hi, Joellen. Thank you. Welcome to the Senate. I know we're going to have to tweak faculty policy because of this consolidation, but I think a more pressing concern, some people are here have already used Ombuds. They've told me how great it is. And someone already asked about how to make appointment. What do you think is the main thing faculty might expect by coming in as visitors to your office? And will anybody know about the visit if they do make an appointment?
Nobody will learn it from the Ombuds office. We delete our scheduling email. We keep no trace of any contact. We do not tell anyone who has had an Ombuds visit, and we don't keep any records of what was said in the Ombuds visit, and we don't tell anyone what was said in the Ombuds visit. We are absolutely serious. And we've been doing, I personally have been ombuds at UNM for 12 years and that confidentiality has been airtight. It is a priority for me because it creates a safe place for people to think freely out loud with the support of a skilled listener. And my background is in collaborative problem solving, mediation, facilitation, negotiation. I can give people tips about how to move forward. But the other thing about us, we're confidential, and we also have no authority and no inclination to tell people what to do. We really believe that you know best what your situation is and what your next best step might be. And our job is just to really help you discover your best self, your best option. And then we disappear, we move on to the next conversation.
Any other questions? Thank you, Joellen, for your time. Thanks so much for being here.
My pleasure. Thank you.
There's a question privately to me in the chat, but it's important. So if you don't mind, I want to address it really quickly. This person is wondering about the dates for Senate meetings, and I just wanted to make sure because that you all were aware. Faculty Senate voted on this. It was either, I think it was Finney's last year as president to move all Faculty Senate meetings to the last Tuesday of the month. So August, September, October, November, and January? Do we meet in January? Yeah,
Yes.
January, February, March, April, and May if we need to, but typically April, in my experience, has been our last meeting of the semester. So please put aside 3 to 5 p.m. the last Tuesday of those months for that during the academic year, excluding December and probably May.
And for faculty senators, we have attempted to send you a calendar invite, but if you did not get one or you want us to resend it, if you'll reach out to me personally. Chris, I also want to mention that the Faculty Senate listserv is for faculty senators only, not for all faculty. We have a all faculty listserv that if we need to get information out,
Okay.
goes through the provost's office. So.
Great. Yeah, see, they don't give me access to that. Why do you think that is? They won't give me access to all faculty. Okay. Let's see. Okay, so next on our agenda is public comment. Nancy, do we have anyone signed up for public comment?
No, we do not.
We never have people signed up for public comment. Well, I was going to say, maybe I need to start promoting that. And then I thought, well, maybe not. Not sure how that would go. Okay, my chat is blowing up. So let me make sure I'm not overlooking anything. You'll give me a second. Thank you, Liz. Oh, good question, Natalie. Did you get that answered about IBRO requests?
No, I didn't actually. I guess I should have unmuted myself, but
Yeah, that's a great question. I can, I can, or you can reach out to Joellen and then we can let faculty know. I can follow up with her about it and then I'll send out an email to the FactSen Faculty Senate listserv with the answer.
okay.
I think it's a good
Yeah,
question.
so I agree with Roberta that because they don't keep records, that wouldn't be subject to IPRA, but emails themselves are subject to IPRA. So at least in my world at UNM.
So if you send an email, just don't say a whole lot in that email.
I guess so, yes.
Yeah, Chris, I do
Always
think
good
that's the
advice.
advice offered by ombuds is when you contact them to provide minimal information, and contact by phone is preferred. For that reason, I don't know if it's about IPRA or about court subpoenas, which are another way to penetrate confidentiality. But we'll see what Joellen says.
Thank you, Liz. Really appreciate that.
Thanks.
Okay. So at this point in time, Nancy, we need to vote to close the session, correct?
Yes, and anybody who is not a faculty senator, then after that, we'll have to excuse out of the meeting or put them in a waiting room. They would like.
Can I do a,
We have a
well,
we have a poll for it if you want.
okay, okay. And just so everyone knows, the reason why I want to start out the semester with this closed meeting session, it's what we did last year, and it was during that time that we as faculty senators were, well, I guess I'm not a senator anymore, that you all as faculty senators were able to come up with a list of priorities for the academic year. And I'd like to do that again because I think it worked well last year. And it doesn't mean that we're not still addressing what we started to discuss last year. So basically, we'll close the session, randomly put people into breakout rooms, and I'll explain what's going to happen there. But basically, just introducing yourselves to the 3 or 4 people present in the breakout room, and then coming up with a list of priorities that you would like to see Faculty Senate address during the academic year. I know that one of the issues that was brought up was, one that President Stokes addressed. It was the question of what to do about students' high course loads, and what could we do to make it easier on students, especially those with responsibilities beyond campus, to be successful. Also, I'll mention that student success, I made that a committee or a subcommittee on the preferences survey that went out to everyone, that went out to all faculty. And so having received responses on the survey for those wishing to serve on a student success committee, I'm going to be forwarding those names to Pamela Cheek. So that was also something that we discussed last year. So at this time, I would like, and we won't be voting on anything during that closed session. We'll just be brainstorming, coming up, generating ideas for things to focus on for this year. I would, well, okay. So, I guess I would like to, Nancy, unless you see an issue with this, or unless there are senators who would see an issue with this, I would like to invite faculty who aren't necessarily officially faculty senators to also join us in that conversation. I hate to require fellow faculty colleagues to leave. However, I think it is problematic if anyone is in an administrative role overseeing faculty to stay. That would make it less maybe make it less comfortable for faculty to have frank and honest conversations. So okay. Nancy, could you please put up the poll to, let me put it this way, to close the session, but keep it open to non-administrative, non-managerial faculty, faculty who don't oversee other faculty in a firing, hiring, promotion sort of way.
And I think Candace has the poll, so.
I see it open. Okay, it looks like 91%, excuse me, 29%, 29 out of 32 approve, 3 out of 30, or sorry, now 34, 35. Majority approve. So if you'll go ahead, Nancy, and will officially close the session. And what I'll do now is I'm going to randomly put you all into breakout rooms. And I'm going to, I would like there to be, Osman, I accidentally texted you about ANS, I think. You can ignore that part. But I did write down your suggestion, and I think it's a great one. And hi, welcome. I think that's it. Awesome. Well, thank you all for your participation. And I'd like to request that, so we had 10 breakout rooms. So if each note taker would please email me the list of priorities that your group came up with, and then I will consolidate the 10 lists, and I will also share the list that we finalized last year at our, I think it was at our October meeting when we all met together. No, I'm getting semesters mixed up. Anyway, I'll send out the combined list based on what the note takers send me. Thank you for taking notes. And I'll also send last year's list so we can look at those together. It'll be maybe even an interesting comparison and remind us too of maybe what we've gotten done and what we could still get done. In
Let's
the
vote to reopen the session, Chris.
Oh, thank you, Nancy. Nancy, would you mind bringing up the poll so senators can vote on reopening the session? Looks like we have a
Looks like it's
majority.
unanimous.
Yes. Okay, thank you all. So I'd just like to invite, and of course, not every note taker needs to volunteer, but do we have a few note takers to just, or anyone who wants to bring up a topic that maybe you think would be interesting to cover in the coming year, just to get an idea of what people are thinking about? Justin.
This will be a popular one, recruitment and retention, advocating strategies for how to effectively do this across departments.
Okay. Great one. Liz.
Yeah, we had three things. One was health sciences, what now, or what the heck now?
Yeah.
The second one was continuing concern with high student credit hours and the lack of fit with our student needs. And the third was campus unrest in the months ahead. What is the role of the faculty senate here? How can we strengthen faculty voice in those, what are likely to be more conflicts? And what does Chris want us to do?
Chris, whatever your heart tells you, and but yeah, we could put something to the faculty senate, a vote on something or whatnot. John.
In addition to those two things, we had a discussion on free speech and faculty's stance on free speech at all UNM campuses. Retention and other things associated with faculty, not only at the HSC, but in terms of competitive across all UNM departments and campuses, where HSC is obviously at a very large competitive disadvantage relative to peers.
Okay. John, your comment about free speech reminds me to tell you all, I did send you, in addition to the ombuds information, I sent you a second email with this free speech flyer front and back attached, so you can see what admin has been handing out on campus. Great. Any other, yes, Christina.
Yes, so in addition to everything that's already been said, two things. How are we going to address the need for increased budgets to accommodate pay equity increases for adjunct faculty? And what happens if there's no funding available? Do we have to let them go? And then the second thing was, how are we addressing housing and food insecurities in our students, staff, and faculty? And there was a recommendation to possibly have a UNM faculty member in the Honors College who just reported on this, Sarita Kargas, to possibly come and present to us as faculty on their findings.
Yeah. Just so you all know, I did appoint Professor Kargas to the Governmental Relations Committee. So I'm hoping we can get some traction there. But yeah, and I know Sarita's been presenting to the administration in a number of different ways. So I think it'd be really, I think all of these are great ideas. And I think we need to find ways that the Faculty Senate can start pushing on these issues, not just making people aware, but doing something about it. Yeah. And I also really appreciate you all thinking about adjuncts who are not represented in the Faculty Senate. So thank you for doing that. Thank you for thinking about our adjunct colleagues. Okay, I'm going to give you 5 minutes back of your time. And I hope you have a good September. I will see you at the end of the month. If there's anything else, please feel free to reach out to me. I always appreciate hearing from you all. And note takers, if you would please reach out to me with your lists so I can put them all together, I'd really appreciate it. And then I'll share those lists with you all. I'll also be sending out, how did it work for you all? I liked being able to email you all and getting back from you questions for President Stokes and the provost if he was here to address. And I think, email me. And if you were one of the people that emailed me, or if you still had questions about one of the items that was to be addressed, let me know if it needs to be addressed in more detail for you. Both the president and President Stokes should be present at our next September meeting, which will be in person. So be thinking about that as well. Okay, now I'll give you back 4 minutes of your time. Thank you all. Have a great night.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, and boy.
Christian, I'm so glad to see you.